Less than 2 weeks to go and Wuthering Waves will finally release. But when it does, do you know which characters to go for, how to build them and what pitfalls to watch out for, especially when looking at early stamina investment? If not, this video is for you. And if yes, and you have waifu bias just like me, I am sure you will still learn something from this video. So let's get started and talk about stamina, investment, character and team building in Wuthering Waves. As usual, a short disclaimer. This info is mostly based on the CBT2, so things will change a bit, and for some things I have to do very rough estimations based on my own experience with the CBT2. However, that is also the reason why I will not yet link my sheets just yet, but I will show you all results I have currently in the video. If anything is a rough estimation, I will let you know, and I also will update the description and pin a comment with the sheets soon after the game releases. We will talk about the following in this video. Effective and resource-saving leveling for your characters in relation to the DPS loss, don't waste your waveplates, stamina resource investment guide, leveling and investment priorities, resonators, skills, weapons and echoes, what they are and what stats to look out for, echo sets and builds, how to build good teams, learn the why and don't just copy the best in slot teams without understanding why Verina is disgustingly broken and by far the best unit in the game and it is like not even close, and team building example, Jiyan. First up, let's talk about the characters in this game. They are called Resonators, and just like in most games you can level them up to level 90 using resonance potions. Taking any resonator from level 1 to 90 will cost you around 2.4 million experience. By simply playing the game and opening chests, title heritages or doing puzzles and quests, you will receive just enough experience to get around 1.5 characters up to level 90. However, Wuthering Waves endgame does require 3 fully built teams of 3 resonators each, which means you do want to have at least 9 characters leveled and built to a certain degree. From my early theory crafting, getting any character from level 80 to 90 will grant you around 10 to 15% more DPS, while costing you 31% of the total XP required to get any character from 1 to 90. That is roughly the same experience you need to get another resonator from level 1 to around level 62. So said XP will likely cost you around 2 to 3 days, and this is a rough estimate, worth of waveplates. Getting your skill level from 9 to 10 will likely cost you around 12 days of waveplates for a single skill. Again, a rough estimate, and I actually might be very wrong about this one. But in any case, early into the game you will have to decide between getting one character fully built, which will cost you a month of stamina resources, or leveling 4 or 5 other characters to around level 60 for the same cost. Personally, I would advise early into the game to build 3 different DPS with a focus on getting them to level 80. For all other characters you can do the same, as you will need 9 units in total, and it is fine to leave your supports at level 60 or 70 ascended in the beginning. However, I do want to emphasize, this advice is only for the early stages of the game, as a means to allow you to progress through the various stages of the Tower of Adversity. Your final goal should indeed be level 90 with your main DPS and level 80 ascended for any supports and sub-DPS. For the skills, they are probably fine at around level 7 or 8. Now that I already mentioned ascended and ascension a few times, when your resonator hits level 20, 40, 50, 60, 70 or 80, you will need specific ascension, also called breakthrough materials, to be able to continue leveling your resonators or weapons. However, that also means you will need to spend your waveplates, or resin in Genshin terms, to defeat world bosses for the respective loot. And this is where it gets interesting. Early on you will unlock a feature called simulation training. This thing is absolutely bait, and there is no reason whatsoever to early on invest any waveplates into the simulation training. You will receive many materials from just playing the game, chests, puzzles, quests, the gift shop and so on. This will supply you with enough resources to fully build one team or 3 resonators without you ever having to touch that farming domain. But that also leaves open the question, how should you actually spend your waveplates? Well, the answer is world bosses. They drop the necessary materials to ascend your resonators while also still dropping you some experience materials for your resonators, weapons and echoes. Also, you want to farm them anyway for the echoes. The rate is approximately half to a third of the simulation training, early on at least. However, this value declines massively the higher you get on levels. I would argue, as of my current information I have right now, and by that mean I could be wrong, do not spend any waveplates on the sim training or forgery challenges until about Union level 35. You will unlock the world bosses early on and they are the most efficient way to spend your waveplates early into the game. However, they will also start at level 35 and if you are skill gapped by those bosses, that is fine. Just make sure you do spend your waveplates in any way, and the most important thing is simply to spend them. That being said, let's talk about priorities. We have the resonator skills levels, their weapons and echoes. But before I talk about echoes, let's talk about the others. Always level your main DPSs as much as you can and make sure their weapons are also at the maximum level. Regarding weapons, don't spend too many resources into 3-star weapons and try to aim for 4-star or even better, 5-star ones instead. The attack those weapons provide are base attack, which works exactly the same way as it does in Genshin, and by that I mean they are the most substantial damage increase you can get aside from the resonator levels and ascensions. Try to keep your resonator skill levels up to date, but you do not need to level any skills past level 7, at least for now. Which skills to prioritize when leveling them are dependent on the character itself. And as I want to keep this video as generic as possible, I will not include any information on that. That being said, let's talk about echoes. Echoes are the equipment of this game and you farm them in the overworld. Doing so together with friends allows you to farm multiple worlds per day. Echoes come in 3 costs and 4 ranks. There are 1 cost, 3 cost and 4 cost, and all of them can be either rank 2, 3, 4 or 5. The main stats the Echo provides depend on their rank and you always want to aim for a rank 5 Echo later into the game. However, the maximum rarity you can obtain and the chance to obtain said rarity are dependent on your databank level, also known as the terminal level. This also means you definitely want to prioritize raising your databank level to be able to farm higher ranked Echoes as soon as possible. I will also talk about this in a separate video, but this should be your utmost priority early into the game. 1 cost Echoes always have either flat HP, defense or attack as their main stats. When selecting your Echoes for your Resonator, simply take the Echoes which have the most important stat for the respective character, which in most cases will be attack. For the 3 cost Echoes, they can have one of the following stats: attack percent, defense percent, HP percent, energy regen percent, or any of the elemental damage percents, for example a arrow damage bonus. For most characters you will likely want to choose 3 costs, which have their corresponding elemental damage bonus. However, if a character already has an inherently built-in damage bonus from their kit, attack percent or energy regen for supports are probably the better choice. An example of this would be Jiyan, who already has a built-in 50% glacier damage bonus. 4 cost Echoes can either have crit rate, crit damage, healing bonus, or again a percent bonus for attack, defense or HP. You always want crit rate or crit damage in basically every single character except for maybe healers. Substat rolls are incredibly varied and on top we do not have exact information as of right now on what has changed since the last CBT, so I will not include that in this video. As a very generic rule, for most characters anything that is not a flat value and somehow increases your damage, that is probably a fine roll for now. Now let's talk about loadout. Depending on your terminal level, any character can have a maximum loadout of 8, 10 or 12. This loadout is also called cost and references, well, exactly that. The sum of all equipped Echoes cost cannot be higher than the loadout. This means we have the possibility for 2 times 1 cost echo, 2 times 3 cost echo and 1 4 cost echo to fill out the 12. There might be some other combination going on for a specific character in the future, such as 33311, but that is, to be honest, to be seen. Most likely that will be the default layout for 99% of characters. That being said, let's talk about sets. Each echo can be one of 2 sets, and each set provides a 2-piece and a 5-piece bonus. There is a set for each element as well as 3 generic sets. You usually want the 5-piece set bonus on all your characters, but if you do not have good enough pieces to fulfill that condition, going for 2 2-piece sets and 1 off-piece is fine as well, even if it is not best in slot. That term is honestly overrated anyway. In any case, try to match the set to your Resonators element. For supports, you either want the energy-based set, Moonlit, or the healing support set, Rejuvenating. Wow, that was a lot, and I hope you aren't tired yet, because now that we know how to build the Resonators themselves, we want to dive into how to build the teams. And hence, let's start with a disclaimer. There nearly always will be a specific best in slot team for any main DPS. However, the goal of this video is to teach you on what to look out for when you want to build a team for your favorite character. Secondly, teams and builds will change over the course of the game, which also means this part of the video could, theoretically speaking, be completely redundant when the game releases, although that is very unlikely. To get started, we first have to understand the 3 categories or roles any character can fulfill: main DPS, sub-DPS and support. The main DPS is the Resonator, which will take the most field time, whereas the sub-DPS and supports will usually only stay on field for a short while. So let's have a look at the current Resonators at the time of the game's release. For the main DPS, we have Calchado, Jiyan, Jinlin, and yes, she is a main DPS, and anyone who says she is a sub-DPS has actually not understood her kit, and by that I mean just because any character is able to deal some damage while off-field, that doesn't mean they are completely an off-fielder. Danjin, Encore, Qixia, Lingyan and Sanhua, in no particular order. For the sub-DPS characters, we have Yuanwu, Jianjing, Rover, Taoshi and Aalto. For the supports, we have Verina, Mortefi, Baiji and Yang. Also, please excuse if I butchered any names here. Let's start with the latter, as you are probably asking yourself, why is Yang a support? And that is a good question, but there are multiple reasons for that. But the 2 biggest being, number 1, she takes a lot of field time for her combo, while dishing out basically no damage compared to other main DPS characters. Number 2, her ultimate is where she provides her actual real value, because she is basically a mini Venti, if you have ever played Genshin Impact, even if the suck area of her ultimate is quite small. She supports the team by grouping enemies, and anybody who has ever played Genshin and does not have a Kazuha probably knows how important that can be. However, I also want to mention that the later stages in the Tower of Adversity, as well as hologram bosses, are either mostly or completely focused on single target bosses, which means she will lose out on a lot of value for those. Oh, and well, technically she also boosts the ultimate damage of the next character taking the field after her outro skill by 20%, but to be honest, since the game is so fluid and reactive, that is honestly not really great to rely on. Baiji and Verina have clearly designed support kits, and Mortefi is a straight up buff support to all heavy attack main DPS. The role of sub-DPS Resonators is to either deal damage while off-field, an example here would be Yuanwu, who is also basically Fischl, or to fill in for a few seconds while your main DPS has to recharge. What exactly recharge means is highly dependent on your main DPS and his build. An example here could be Jiyan again, who you mostly want to be on-field with his ultimate active. If you do not have enough energy recharge, you probably have to swap him out for a bit. And I can already hear some people typing, but I can't generate his ultimate energy while he is off-field. And to that I say, you are wrong, because 30% of energy generated is shared to your teammates. However, this shared energy is not affected by energy dragging by the on-fielder. The main DPS is the character you usually want to receive your buffs and spend most of the time with on the field, This is your most important character and, as already established early on, the character you want to put in most of your resources. Now let's make an example of how a team could be built. Let's say you really like Jiyan and you want to build a team around him. Reading his kit carefully, we know that he is heavily based on heavy attacks and AoE. We also know that most of his value comes while his ultimate is active. This makes it really easy to select a support for him. Mortefi. Mortefi is literally built to support heavy attacks and he is the only support for that at that. In this case, he will also function as a sub-DPS. The reason for that is because we are missing any sustain, and if you are watching this video, you are probably not good enough to literally never get hit by anything. However, there's also another reason, which is that we fortunately also pulled Verina, and Verina is absolutely busted. She is by far the best character in the entire game, and it is not even close. Not only has she a built-in Bailu, which on top of that also gives you a shield based on her tag, she also basically always guarantees a 20% attack buff with a 60% uptime. No, she also does follow-up attacks while being attack percent based, while she is off-field, and she also can heal your team while on the field and off the field. And you think we are done? Oh no, if that wouldn't be enough already. She has a literally 15% damage boost through multiplier, and that is the only one in the game so far. I won't go into damage buckets here, but she literally increases all damage dealt by 15% with 100% uptime. If you get her, build her and play her. She is likely even future-proof for a while because another character would literally need to do the same as her, but with higher numbers to replace her. And because we need 3 teams and hence 3 supports, they would need to release 3 of them. Sorry for that, I guess you get it. Verina is good. Anyway, that being said, let's just assume we do not have Verina. So who else do we pick? If you feel safe on not getting hit, Jiyan might be a good addition to help you clear AoE scenarios faster, but A. Jiyan already is very strong in these situations. Again, he is AoE based, and B. He doesn't profit from her 20% ultimate damage boost, since his ultimate damage is considered heavy attack damage. That means we either want to pick a sustain, or a character who will help us out with Jiyan's weakness, and that is single target damage. This is honestly a bit difficult, since most single target damage focused units are main DPS and require way more field time than Jiyan wants to give. Jiang might be a good pick, since she can also provide a shield for Jiyan, but she also doesn't really help out with the single target damage. As you probably already noticed, we have a significant lack of supports right now. Your best pick might actually be Alto, however I have not calculated that, so take it with a grain of salt. At least he can provide a taunt with his skill, as well as granting arrow damage bonus to Jiyan with his outro skill, and he does a little bit of off-field damage. So, this has been a long video, and I hope I covered everything you need to know to start in Wuthering Waves when the game releases. Or if the game already is released and you're watching it afterwards, still. I would highly appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave me a like. Videos like these always take a lot of time. Also join the Discord if you haven't done so. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Peace.